Rishi Sunak says he would strongly support a probe into whether the former post office boss should be stripped of her CBE. Paula Venables was the CEO of the company from 2012 to 2019, and during that time they were pushing prosecution through the courts, accusing hundreds of subpostmasters of fraud and other financial crimes they did not commit. She was given a CBE in the 2019 New Year Honours List for services to the post office and to charity, but now she's facing calls to return it since the scale of one of the biggest miscarriages of justice in British history was revealed. The wrongful convictions date all the way back to 1999, but it's been brought back into the spotlight because of a new ITV dramatisation of the story. This now means that pressure is growing on the government to intervene to ensure that the 736 people involved in the scandal are exonerated. Only 93 have so far been overturned. Joining me down the line right now is Janet Skinner, a victim of the scandal, who was herself wrongly jailed. Janet, thank you so much for coming on my programme this afternoon. I'm so terribly sorry for the injustice meted out to you. How do you feel, first of all, about the fact that it's taken a drama on ITV to get the government to sit up and take notice of this?
I think it's become the power of social media as well. This story has been ongoing, and the actual drama is only a tip of the iceberg. There's so many people and families that have been destroyed by this. And since it was rolled out, well, it was piloted in '99 and rolled out in 2000,
Yes.
and it's just destroyed people's lives.
Tell me about your own story and how this all happened to you, because I think some people who are not familiar with this scandal just won't believe that such a thing could happen to so many perfectly decent people running their businesses in an honest and above-board way. They will be horrified. So what happened to you, Janet?
So my losses started in back end of 2005, going into 2006. My first loss was £7,000, and the following week it just doubled, and it just literally, I ended up burying my head in the sand, couldn't find where it was. You double check everything. You don't really have a great deal of documents to check against, since they removed a majority of them, with a computer system. And then I had a visit from 2 retail network managers, and I explained to them what was going wrong. They did a cash check. I requested an audit. The auditors came the following morning. And to be honest, I was relieved when they came, because I thought they're going to get to the bottom of it. They're going to find out what the problem is, and everything will be fine. And when the auditors came, they removed my keys from me, went into the office. They audited the office, told me it was £59,000 short,
Wow.
and suspended me on the spot, searched me before I left the premises, and it just went from there.
Janet, before the first loss of £7,000, what was the most that you had been down on an ordinary week? Because obviously, you know, there's often a little shortfall, but what was the most you'd ever found yourself to be down?
9 times out of 10, it was always short. He was always putting money in,
Yeah.
whether it be it was never ever. I can't honestly say that it was ever below £100 for the minuses. I think the most probably was about 700.
Right. Right. So the most you'd ever been down was 700. It was usually around about 100, and suddenly it was 7,000. By the next week, it was 14,000. Then they said it was 59,000. So you knew that you couldn't possibly have somehow mislaid that huge amount of money. £100 maybe, a couple of £100 maybe, but not that kind of money. They took your keys off you. And what happened to you and your life after that?
So they removed my keys from me, which was the end of May 2006. I received a letter from them in the August and September of 2006 saying that the office was my sole responsibility, that I was being held accountable for the losses in the office, and they was prosecuting me with theft and false accounting. I attended the magistrates court for a plea bargain in October of 2006. The MP Carl Turner was my solicitor at the time, and he advised me to plead guilty to, well, they offered him a plea bargain that if I pleaded guilty to the false accounting, they would drop the theft. So I said, you know, would it stop me going to prison? And he said, you're more than likely just get a suspended sentence. So I took his advice, pleaded guilty to the false accounting. I didn't want to go to prison. So I took an easy option. I had 2 children. I just couldn't go to prison. But on the 2nd of February of 2007, I was sent to prison anyway.
How long did you actually have to spend in prison, Janet?
Well, I got an arm-month custodial sentence. I did 6 weeks in Newhall prison, which is Wakefield, and then I did another 5 weeks in Drake Hall. I was released on the 12th of April in 2007, but I was released with an ankle tag.
Oh my God.
So I was on home curfew, 6 till 6 curfew up until July of 2007.
And what were the repercussions for your life in terms of the people that you knew, the people that you respected, the people that you cared about, your children, your family, believing that you were innocent or thinking that you weren't innocent, and your reputation and living where you lived? How was all of that?
Well, I mean, the people who are closest to you, you always know. And I mean, my kids believed me. Their dad stepped up, and because we aren't together. So their dad stepped up and he took care of them. And when I came out of prison, we just had to deal with whatever came at me, to be honest. I'd already served the hardest part of it. But I mean, people just assume there's no smoke without fire. The post office was this trusted brand. Nobody believed that, especially when it was in the local newspaper as well, that had stolen, the postmistress from Hull had stolen the pensions. It was just, nobody believed you.
Do you now know whether the post office knew at the time that you were convicted, at the time you were prosecuted, at the time you were sent to prison, that it was their computer system at fault and not you at all? Did they do this to you in the full knowledge that you were completely innocent and the fault was all theirs and with their computer system? Or did they not yet know that for sure at that time, do you think?
I can't answer that question, because obviously that's a question that's been asked of the inquiry. I mean, the evidence that's coming to light is actually saying, yes, they was aware of it when the systems went live in 2000. I mean, some convictions have been actually taken place in 2000, some convictions in 2001. So this has been an ongoing thing since the actual system was rolled out. And I think, obviously, being part of the mediation scheme with Second Sight in 2015, the information that they brought to light, and then obviously them moving into the group litigation order, the information that they brought to light, then going to the Court of Appeal, my own legal team bringing documentation to light. It's just been I think the problem we've got is the Post Office have got this Secrecy Act, and they just seem to disclose documents when they think they're going to get away with it and it's going to get buried. And I think it's blown up in the faces that, and I don't think they expected.
And tell
I think
me
they
something,
expected
Janet.
us to just give up.
Obviously, you know, no money on earth can buy you back the time you spent in prison, the despair, the anxiety, the destruction of your reputation, being separated from your children, just all the awful things that have happened to you, and you've done nothing whatsoever to deserve them, nothing. no amount of money could bring back all you've lost, but have you received compensation, and has it gone anywhere near to kind of restoring the quality of life that you were living before?
No, I've not. I've received an interim payment, but I haven't received full fair compensation yet. That's still being looked over by the post office's legal teams, who are scrutinising every single claim that is put to them. They're not making it easy. What they need to do, and what the government need to do, is they need to remove the power from the post office completely in regards to prosecutions, whether they're going to be overturned or whether they're going to be stayed, and also to do with the compensation schemes are also governed by the post office. This needs to change, and they need to remove them from that and remove that power.
4 people we know have taken their lives. Other people have been driven to absolute despair by all of this. How have you coped with it? Because you do seem to be today, resilient. You seem to be very, very together, in full command of all of the facts and everything else. But how has it had an impact on you and your kind of emotional life and your
See,
quality of life?
2008, man carried on into the following year. So when I lost my house, because I had to sell my house because it obviously due to the fact that I couldn't pay the mortgage and I'd been in prison. And I lost my house in October of 2007, and I had to move into a private rented property. And what I didn't know was all of the correspondence was going to the house that I lost, and it was to do with compensation. So I was made to pay the post office £11,000 compensation on the sale of my property.
You had to pay the post
they
office.
didn't receive that.
You paid them compensation.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow.
I had to pay them £11,000 compensation, and that's what was going to be left out the sale of my house.
So if you could speak to the Prime Minister,
they didn't get it.
Janet, if you could speak to the Prime Minister right here, right now, on TalkTV, what would you say to Rishi Sunak about this? What should he do? What needs to happen?
It needs to remove the power from the post office, and there needs to be independent panels dealing with compensation. Remove all of these legal representations that the post office have got. I mean, I think they've got about 4 or 5 different legal teams, one sorting this, one doing this. I mean, we don't have that kind of what's the word?
Clout,
Privilege,
influence, money.
because we haven't got somebody else paying for it.
Absolutely. Janet, listen, thank you very much for talking about this. I can't tell you how my heart goes out to you. It's just appalling injustice, and I'm so sorry. Thank you very much indeed for being on the programme.